Shalom, back again with another lesson. Before I begin this lesson, I'd like to begin by first giving all honor, glory, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechak Kodash. I give double honors to my elders and apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. I want to say peace and salutations to you, Akim, you brothers out there laboring, pushing this word out in all truth and in sincerity, presenting your bodies as a living sacrifice, which is your reasonable service. I want to say shalom to you, Akwaf, meaning you Israelite sisters that may be listening, and also to you Israelites that are scattered across the four corners of the earth. You may look like these other nations, but your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is the chosen seed line. Shalom. So the title of this lesson is The Quiet Before the Storm. You know, with tensions in the so-called Middle East starting to rise up again, you know, you're hearing these news stories and breaking news posts to say that, you know, Iran has started striking American ships. You know, America is now looking at retaliatory strikes, etc., etc. You know, this is the part that I would refer to as the quiet part, you know, before all out chaos breaks loose. The fact that we can still go to the shops, the fact that we can still go to concerts and summer events, you know, the fact that we can still order things like Uber Eats whenever we want, you know, and it's not a burden yet, you know, like to basically fight to get your order, you know, shows that we're still in the quiet part at this point, you know, but soon when it's actually officially go time, you know, when the war actually flares up again, it ain't going to be something that will eventually stop or slow down and settle back down to where everything goes back to normal. No, what's going to end up happening is going to keep going and just getting worse and worse and intensifying even more. This is why it's our duty in this quiet period to warn our people and give them the warning so that the elect of our people can wake themselves up and get themselves right, you know, because it's getting, you know, pretty close to the wire before it all kicks off, right? Now, I'm going to read in the book of Ezekiel. I'm going to start in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3. I'm going to read verse 17, right? Because it says, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. So when it talks about the Son of Man, that's the Israelites that are woken up to the truth of who they are. They've studied the scriptures and they've received the breakdowns, and now they're out on the highways and hedges, right? Being that watchman. It says, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. So what's the job of a watchman? It's to stand on the tower and keep a lookout for danger. Now, when you see the danger coming, is to blow the trumpet and warn the people, right? But it's saying specifically, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel, the Israelites, right? The ones that are waking up to this truth. When you read in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, it talks about the valley of the dry bones, you know, where Ezekiel is prophesying to the bones, and then the bones are starting to stand upon their feet, an exceeding great army, roughly paraphrase it, right? But that's referring to the Israelites that are waking up to this truth, right? So the ones that are waking up to this truth, they're receiving the Spirit, and now they're out there on the highways and hedges doing the same thing, waking the people up, myself, you know, included in that. Because once I was asleep, but I heard the truth, I received it, and now I'm out on the highways and hedges doing exactly what it commanded, you know, for me to do. Right? It says, therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. So warn the people, right? So as we continue in verse 18, it says, when I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life. And that's the whole point, to save their lives, right? The same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. So if we're not out here doing this, you know, this job that the Lord has commanded us to do, you know, we're not warning the people, then, you know, you're going to end up dying in your iniquity anyway. But because I didn't give you the warning, your blood would be on my hands. Now, me, I don't want your blood on my hands. I want to clear myself from your blood, right? So that's why a lot of the times you hear what we say, right? It sounds like a broken record because we have to just keep repeating it over and over again. The things you may have already heard, you know, just keep repeating it, right? But this is the flip side. Verse 19, it says, yet if thou warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. So that's the whole point of why we come out week in and week out. We do the lessons, we give you the breakdowns, we have the conversations, we show you the warnings, the danger that's coming. We let you know what's getting ready to happen, how the Lord is going to judge this place. Hey, if you choose not to listen to it, that's on you. That ain't on us because we gave you the warning, right? So that's a beautiful precept or scripture, referring to waking our people up. The scriptures warn us to seek the Lord while we still have that opportunity. Now, I can read in the book of, let me see, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, right? I'm going to start from the top. Now it says, remember the Most High in your youth, right? So it says in verse 1, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. So this is that quiet part, This is the calm, the quiet before the storm. Remember the Lord in the days of thy youth, meaning get yourself together when you first hear it. Don't wait to get right. Start learning and studying what the Lord requires of us, right? Because you don't want to be caught out there when all hell breaks loose. When that storm comes, you don't want to be caught out there with no protection, no umbrella, no shade, no covering, nothing. You're just going to be out there, right? Because it says, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. And you can see how things are intensifying. That storm is brewing. It's almost like Noah's Ark, where, you had them scoffers, scoffing at Noah. Noah was out there 120 years building the ark. You had the scoffers, and they were all laughing until, hey, they see them storm clouds coming. And now it ain't looking so silly, is it? Right? So verse 2 reads, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. So the sun, the moon, the light, the stars, these represent the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is fading in the society, right? And the society actually is becoming darker in morality and wickedness, right? So you're starting to see an increase of the darker side of society in these times, right? Now the clouds, where it says the clouds return after the rain, the clouds represent a gloomy atmosphere in the world, right? So everything's just gone gloomy. It's not as bright and vibrant as it used to be. Everything's now gloomy. Everything's gone wicked, There used to be a time where you could let your kids roam out in the streets and just let them play all day. Now, like if you leave your kids out in the street, you have to worry about something negative happening to them. You know what I mean? You have to worry and think about it. It's like that gloomy cloud, that gloomy atmosphere that's surrounding the world right now. This is verse 3. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened, right? So the keepers of the house, these are those people that work in the industry that forecast how society is performing or how these vital industry in society are performing, right? Now, where it says, in the days when the keepers of the house shall tremble, the reason that these people are trembling is because they can see, they can predict that it's not looking too good for them. Like the stock market, the points, they're losing points on the stock market, the job industry is not looking good, inflation is increasing, they're looking at society and they're thinking, this ain't a good look. You know what I mean? This isn't anything that we would be, excited about, right? It says, and the strong men shall bow themselves. Now, the strong men, these would be like, you could look at them like the military, people in authority, your police, all that other stuff. They're looking pretty worried right now because, they're suffering, they're worrying, they're in doubt that, they're going to have a job. All these things are struggling right now. They're not going to get paid. All these things that would cause somebody to worry, right? So it says, and the strong men shall bow themselves, It says, and the grinders cease because they are few. Now the grinders are your laborers, right? So the laborers at these jobs and all these other industries, the laborers or the grinders cease. This is due to the job cuts, job losses. There was a post that I see not too long ago where they were saying a large number, hundreds of thousands of black women, so-called black women, lost their jobs, right? Everybody's losing their jobs right now. You see people crying on social media that they've lost their job or they can't afford this, they can't afford that. This is a real reality that people have to face, right? And it says, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few. It says, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Now, when it says those that look out the windows be darkened, this is them looking out, and seeing that there's no hope. There's no sort of nothing positive that they can see about economic recovery. There's nothing positive they can see, right? This is a tough gig for them, right? So verse 4, it says, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, meaning there's going to be further job losses. Job loss is going to be at an all-time high, right? And it says, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, meaning wake up early in the morning to try and find some work, but it's going to be useless. There's going to be no point in searching for a job because there's going to be nothing available. And it says, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Like the daughters of music, that means basically the quality of music is worse. It's getting poor. It's absolute garbage at the moment. When you listen to these ratchet, rappers singing these songs, it's like, what the hell is this music? And this is what's getting ready to take place as time progresses, right? Now, when we look at the Apocrypha, we're going to look at the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 2, right? I just wanted to get this scripture because, again, when we talk about, coming back to the Lord and hoping that the Lord, has mercy upon us, right? This is what the scriptures say. It says, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in him? Did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? That's a rhetorical question because the answer is no. It says, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Absolutely not. It says, or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? That's why it's important to understand and know the name of the Lord, right? We have to understand who the Lord is and follow and seek after him while we still have the opportunity. That's why it says, remember thy creator in the days of thy youth, right? Now, I'm going to read in the book of 2nd Ezra, and I'll probably close it off here. So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. And it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, it says, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And that's when all the chaos and all hell is getting ready to break loose, right? So to give you a few examples, as we continue reading, verse 3, it says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which we are seeing, all these protests and all these uproars of the people due to the rising costs in oil prices, rising costs in groceries, the fact that there's no rise in pay. People haven't really received any pay increases, none of that. So there's uproars of the people in the world, right? So we're seeing these things. Verse 4 says, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. That's why it says, remember thou thy creator in the days of thy youth, right? When, the evil days not come. Like, the evil days are getting ready to take place and it's going to get bad, So this is, again, this is the calm before the storm. It says, for like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So we're starting to see that These are the beginning signs of everything, all out chaos getting ready to break loose. That storm is here, right? So I pray that this lesson has been edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechakodash. Double honors to my elders and apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, where I've learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to you hopeful elect that have been listening. And it's on to the next one, Lord willing. Shalom.